Hey, I hope you're well today. This is Pastor Drew from Vuno Church Donholm. I thought I'd share my thoughts from my readings today. Yesterday, we saw how God rejected Saul for his disobedience. Today, the story continues of disobedience. Yesterday, we saw how disobedience is just a moment, but the impact or the repercussions are lifelong. And so we were just checking on how important it is to be obedient to the voice of God over our lives. And so today we have an interesting story from chapter 15 through to 17. I thought I would do two videos. One on chapter 15 and 16, my take up from 15 and 16, and the second one on chapter 17, because you see, chapter 17 is the story of Goliath, and it's just really packed. We can't do both of them in one video. It's a separate story altogether, and it's part of God's plan to replace Saul. Well, so chapter 15 and 16 records that the Israelites was supposed to go to war with the Amalekites. And so, because God had already given them victory, they went ahead and they fought them. The instruction was that they were supposed to leave, not to leave any living thing. And that's what they did, except they brought back the best of sheep and cattle, and they brought back the king of Amalekites. It was called Agag. Now, the instruction was very clear that they were not supposed to leave any single living thing. I find verse 12 very interesting. That now Samuel was coming back to check on them, and it says that when he tried to find out where Saul was, he was told that Saul had gone to Carmel, where he has set up a monument in his own honor, and has turned out and gone on down to Gilgal. Wow. So now here, Saul has turned out and began raising monuments in his own honor. So first of all, there was a spirit of disobedience. Then now it turns to pride. There was once a spirit of rebellion, but right now it just morphed into something else altogether. And this is just alarming in a culture today where people celebrate rebellion, where people celebrate disobedience, where people get famous for standing out against authorities. Because you see, God immediately rejects Saul. You know, Samuel is just so mad. He's like, this is now where we often get that line that says, God prefers obedience better than sacrifice. And so, in fact, God now here in verse 23 says, rebellion is like witchcraft. And that's the thing we should be telling our children today, that rebellion is actually as bad as witchcraft. And so we should look to obedience as a positive thing, and not encourage rebellion as something that to be admired, as people would like to put it. And so that is the story. So God rejects Saul because of his rebellion and his disobedience, and he moves on. Speaking of moving on, actually, it's recorded before the end of verse 15. It's recorded that Samuel, for the rest of his life, he didn't go to see Saul. It actually recorded that he was mourning. He mourned for the sin of Saul. Now that is Samuel the prophet. He really mourned for the sin of Saul. But the first verse of chapter 16 is just interesting because it says, now this is the God speaking to Samuel. How long will you mourn for Saul, since I have rejected him as king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I'm sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king. It's like God has already moved on, and he's just telling Saul, hey, dude, get out of where you are. Stop mourning. I've already moved on. Um, and that's a really sad state of affairs, because you see, when we begin to raise monuments in our own honor, because of the small gifts that God has given us, or small platforms God has given us, and we begin raising monuments for ourselves using those things, God rejects us, and He moves on and raises another person who is obedient and who is humble. So God bless you as you consider those thoughts. This is First Samuel 16 and 15.